ballpark, very, very ballpark, like what do you think numbers wise you can get for your home when you go that 45, 50 minutes?
So based on the current market, about 20% less is the price, that you're paying, specifically in Central Wellington, than you would be in Milton, if we're comparing similar homes.
So that's significant. On $1 million, that's $200,000. That's a lot of money.
Welcome, everyone, to the Real Estate Podcast. This is episode 353, where Steve and I will be talking about moving from a larger to a smaller town, some of the benefits, challenges, and how to go about making that decision for you and your family. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast, your go-to source for raw, unfiltered stories and expert tips. Whether you're a buyer, seller, tenant, landlord, or realtor, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Yeah, join us as we dive into the world of real estate.
Good voice, good radio voice.
So we're live.
Jen does.
Hi, Kristina.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Good. This is very exciting. And like I said to you, it's very sentimental for me. You're going to have a sentimental spot in my heart. This is your first podcast.
My first podcast partner. It's a big role.
It's a big role. It's pretty exciting. A few months now, you've been on the team. Mm-hmm. Some of the people watching the podcast might not have seen you before. I'm sure we've kind of alluded to you. Do you want to tell us a bit about you? Where you came from, what you did, why you got into real estate?
My background's in sciences, something we have in common. Mm-hmm. So I think your major was also microbiology and
kinesiology.
Okay. So a little bit different. Yeah. But I worked in the food industry, research and development for a long time until I just felt the need to do something I had more passion for, which landed me in real estate. And so the past 10, 12 years, we have sold, bought, leased, been the tenant, been the landlord for a number of properties, all of those transactions being done with the KT team. And we've just had really, really great experiences. So when it came time to choosing where I wanted to be, I knew that you were my people.
Yeah, so amazing. And you spoke about our similarities, and I hadn't thought about that part of it. But similar to you, I came from a corporate background and was tired of corporate life, and real estate wasn't even really on my radar. And it was Adrian was actually my realtor. And it was a conversation with him. We were sitting at a bar having a beer after we'd sold one of my properties and said, why don't you try real estate? But like you, all of my experience had been with them. It was very, very positive, and it was pretty seamless transition for me, as well. And I think you're noticing the same thing. Something I did want to bring up too, which we were talking about a little bit before, was this is my second career. Did you work before you were in food? Like, did you have something else you were doing?
No, I went straight into the food industry out of my undergrad.
Yeah, so same. I mean, it's your second career too. And we were talking a little bit, and you just mentioned, you've bought a home, you've sold a home, you've rented a home, you've been a landlord, you've dealt with tenants. These are all things that I think are going to add so much value, and probably have already added so much value as you started your career in real estate, much more so than somebody who doesn't have that life experience that we have. So welcome. Good job.
Thank you.
Good feedback so far from what I'm hearing, which is cool. We actually did, I think it was your first transaction as well, wasn't it?
We did.
We did a lease. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Both sides of the transaction.
Yeah, you were a good negotiator, actually. I was like, what is this new person doing
here? I was happy it was you.
Yeah, well, you were making me sweat. You made me work for it. So that was pretty cool. What do you want to talk about today?
So we're going to talk about moving to smaller towns.
Okay.
From larger towns, something personal to me since we were living in Milton, my family and I, and decided to move to Central Wellington. I guess so we're going to talk about some of the positives, some of the challenges of making a transition to a smaller town, and just how to go about making that choice for yourself and for your family.
I love it. And it's pretty timely, actually. Interesting. So I just sold a property, my neighbor's house. They're doing the exact same thing. And these are people that have grown up in Milton, okay, and they're now making that transition into a smaller town. I'm actually, over the last couple of weeks, I've been speaking to another client who wants to make that transition as well. So maybe you guys were trailblazers doing it a few years ago, but there seems to be a number of people of our vintage that are now doing that for various reasons. So why did you guys do it? Like, why don't we start with that? That might be a nice on-ramp into the conversation. Like, why did you guys move from Milton? I remember your home in Milton. I think I was there a couple of times. I think you were Fergus first, and now you're Elora. So why'd you guys do that?
Yeah, so we were living in a bungalow in Dorset Park, and it started to feel a bit cramped for us. So we had 2 kids under 2, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a lot of things that came with all of that. So we just needed more space, more storage. The search for what in my view was kind of the ideal, potentially forever home for us, which was a 4-bedroom, double car garage. That's what we really wanted.
Where were you coming from? What were you in?
We were in a bungalow.
Okay. Single car garage?
It was a single car garage, 3-bedroom.
Okay.
So we just needed more space overall. So pricing at the time was a little bit discouraging for us. And so our friends had just purchased a new build in Fergus for an incredible price. We knew nothing about that place at the time, but we took some visits up there, got a feel for the community, and it took a little while for us to make that decision and confidently make that move. So
it was a different home too, because I remember we sold that home, and very kind of different. What you got, like bang for your buck wise, selling in Milton and then moving to a very different home. I mean, your home in Fergus was 2-story, a lot bigger. I mean, you did a beautiful job finishing it, but it just goes to show you exactly how much farther your dollar goes when you kind of make that choice. And I think one of the main reasons why people are doing this, and we have these conversations all the time, is, I want to sell, but I don't want to stay here because, I can't get what I want for my dollar here. Whereas you go, I mean, how far is the drive back in for you? Half an hour tops?
It's about 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's not horrible to have that much of a difference. Ballpark, very, very ballpark. Like, what do you think numbers wise you can get for your home when you go that 45, 50 minutes?
So based on the current market, about 20% less is the price, that you're paying specifically in Central Wellington than you would be in Milton if we're comparing similar homes.
So that's significant, on $1 million, that's $200,000. That's a lot of money, a lot of money. So you've been there how long now?
So we were in Fergus since 2018. We recently just moved over to Elora, which is right next door.
Because Fergus was getting too big, right?
It is getting big slowly, but it is. Yeah. But no, we just actually moved into a back split. So nice. Kind of that view of the perfect home for us had changed because we were looking for a bigger backyard, and that, we just adjusted to what was available. So it was a good move for us, and I think we're going to be there for quite some time. But we love that community as well.
Okay, perfect. And that's, guys, you're doing such a good job segueing into these. You're a natural at these podcasts. So you've been there a few years now. What would you say, and compare this directly to leaving Milton, for example, or leaving, I guess, any suburb community. It doesn't really have to be Milton. What would you say your top 3 pros are for living in a smaller community or moving out from a suburb type community?
Right. So top 3 pros. The one thing we talked about already is affordability. Yeah. That was our main motivating factor. And I'm sure will be a very important factor for most people in terms of where they're going to move to, more value for your money. And also if you're looking to get a larger lot too, generally in smaller towns, that is more of an option.
And I think that's significant right now. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world economics wise, and a lot of people are having, a tricky time. Living is expensive now, like the cost of living has gone up a fair bit. Why shouldn't you live where you want to live? And if you can go out that little bit and get more bang for your buck, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah, so that's a good one.
For sure.
What's number 2 for you?
So number 2 is a strong sense of community. So once you get a feel for the small town, you'll come to see sort of the same faces on a daily basis, going to grocery stores, restaurants, coffee shops. You get to know a lot more people within the community. It's nice to visit those local businesses, which are family owned and operated, and you like supporting them because it's a more of a personal interaction, which is nice.
So that I'm chomping at the bit. You probably saw my mouth moving. I'm not there yet, to be honest with you. Like I live in Milton. I like the size of Milton because I see people I know, familiar. I can still support local, but I don't see them every day. Like I almost think, and this is just me, I know it's different for everybody. I think being in a much smaller community, seeing the same people every day, I'd almost feel like I was living in a fishbowl. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, we have to be out there with social media and stuff like that with our life. But for the most part, I like keeping a good part of it private. I almost feel like a bit of that might be lost.
A bit too much for you.
But that's me, right? That's me. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's fair.
What about number 3?
So number 3 is just a slower pace of life, which was also huge for us as well. Less traffic, less congestion, less big crowds. Just overall being able to run into a store in and out without worrying about parking or lineups and things like that was a huge benefit for us also.
For sure. Actually, we're very similar in our thinking when I thought about kind of the pros and cons and stuff like that. I think now one of the biggest pros too is the ability for people to work from home. You know, I think with some of the technologies that are coming with the internet and Skylink or whatever it's called, it's going to make that a lot more accessible and manageable for people. A few years ago, we would hear about it in cottage country, you know, like fast internet and stuff like that. I think that was an issue in the past. So I think that's really going to open up the gates for people now. So that sets a pretty good pro. The other thing too, and again, I think, you know, especially our age and you know, the generations coming up, people are a lot more in touch with nature, you know, active lifestyles, living, stuff like that. I think you have probably more access to nature when you're out there. Right. Hiking trail. I mean, we're very fortunate in Milton being close to the escarpment. But if you look at areas like Mississauga or Brampton or even Toronto, you might not be afforded that luxury. So I think that's a pretty big plus too. But I do agree with you. You know, I totally agree with you. Now on the flip side, and you got to put your super critical hat on, because I know you love, I mean, you can just tell talking about it, you know, you love being where you are and happy you made that choice. But what are kind of some of the negative things or some of the cons, I guess? I don't want to say
So negative. Some of what I pose them as challenges. So the first one's going to be the commute. And you touched on this, is that a lot of people are fortunate to work remotely. But for those who aren't and who are still driving into their offices in Milton or Mississauga or anywhere in the GTA, you have to consider the amount of time, you know, you're spending driving there and back. If you're going in once a quarter, or if you're going in 2 or 3 times a week, it's obviously going to be a different factor for different families.
Yep, for sure.
So another thing is commuting back to your current town. If you've got friends and family that you would like to see often, you know, how often do you see them? Are you willing to put in that extra 45-minute drive to go and spend dinner with them?
And let's face it, I mean, it's amazing to me, the volume of traffic all the time on the roads, especially, you know, Southern Ontario. It seems like there's never a good time that the 401's not busy, you know, all the time. Hopefully, you know, you don't have to take it that much navigating through where you are.
Well, I did go to the TREB head office in North York yesterday.
Ooh, the 404.
That was a lovely 2.5 hour experience. It wasn't pleasurable at all.
So perfect example, you know, like you went from your place to the TREB offices, which are Scarborough, basically. Without traffic, that would take you, what, 45 minutes, an hour?
Without any traffic, yes.
Yeah, without any traffic. And, you know, and those sessions usually start first thing in the morning. So you're there, what, for 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Yeah. And it took you 2.5 hours.
Right.
That's
and in
bananas.
saying that, so the commute being a challenge is one thing, but at least it's mostly back roads where you're not dealing with the type of congestion on a highway. And so it's a bit of a relaxing kind of drive that you're doing if you are still making that commute.
And you know that, you know, you can just do a big exhale and enjoy your property and enjoy nature when you get back home too. So you're not going into a hustle and bustle, which is pretty cool. The next one that I had, because you took all 3 of mine, during the pros, so I'm going to jump in here with a con. People, if you like shopping or if you like big box stores or if you like having access to those sorts of amenities, again, you're not hours away, but you are limited with what sort of amenities you have. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So in terms of grocery stores, the size and the types of grocery stores in smaller towns are going to have less options. Restaurants, especially if you have a more diverse palate and you're looking for the best
that's a good point,
Thai food or the best Japanese food, you may have to drive like 20 or 30 minutes into the closest bigger town to get that. Activities for kids, like big play places, things like that, you just have to invest a little bit more time in getting to.
Now, was it a tough adjustment? I know your kids are still very young, so for the kids, it was probably, they didn't care as long as, they were with mom and dad and happy to do that. But did you find it tricky at first when you moved? Finding things to occupy the time, especially for the kids?
So I think because of the age that we moved them, it was a pretty easy transition. They weren't in school yet, which made things a lot easier. They didn't have, a core group of friends or anything like that at the time. And so there wasn't that kind of adjustment that needed to be made. Definitely, there were some challenges with moving. It was a new construction. So obviously that poses its own challenges.
Yeah, for sure.
With dogs and kids. But in terms of the actual transition, I thought it was pretty smooth.
It was smart on your part. And I mean, for order of flow, we probably should have talked about this at the beginning, but we'll talk about it at the end. Like, why are people making these decisions and when is a good time to do it? But I think you guys timed it really, really well, in particular with the age of your kids. Because to your point, they didn't really have a lot of things that were going to be difficult to transition from when they moved. Okay, which was super cool. Smart.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find the exact right time.
For sure.
Just like in trying to time the market.
Yep.
There is no perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
It's just basically when your home doesn't function for you, if it makes financial sense and you find a place that you want to relocate to, then that could be your right time.
It's a great point, and it goes above this conversation. When is the right time to move? Like right now, a lot of people are still thinking about timing the market. Okay. And I've really changed the conversation I'm having with people, and it can apply to exactly what we just talked about as far as, when's the right time to move, when it's right for you. I mean, nobody knows your situation better than you. Don't try to time things, just do it when it's right for you, but know your numbers, know the risks, know everything that's associated with making that decision at that time.
Right.
Right. So
I agree.
One that I had, and I mean, again, it kind of depends on the stage of life you're at and the type of career you have. But, with younger kids growing up, if this is where you want to be, is there a concern about a smaller job market and, maybe less local opportunities for people to work? Is that kind of a concern?
Yeah, I mean, with a smaller economic base, lower population density, so even like jobs for teenagers, things like that, may be a little bit more difficult to find just because potentially things close a little bit earlier, or there's not as many openings available. So it is something to consider.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because all those things you were saying, places close a little sooner. Yes, they close a little sooner, but it also allows kids to be kids. It allows teenagers to be teenagers. They're not working all hours of the night. Maybe I'm stretching here, but it really supports kind of the lifestyle that people, I think, want to assume when they move to these smaller areas. Maybe. And then the last one, I don't know if you guys have had issues. I mean, you're a very healthy family, assuming your kids are the same, but, access to social services like healthcare, things like that, might be waiting a little bit longer, might be challenges finding a family physician, things like that. What do you think about that?
Yep. I think finding a family doctor is one thing that a lot of people in our town and some smaller towns have.
But even the bigger towns, I mean, that's an issue too.
Right. Yeah. You're on the waiting list for many months, possibly years.
Yeah.
If you get lucky to find someone taking new patients, then
I had dinner with clients, place I sold about a month and a half ago in Mississauga. This fellow, I believe he's mid-50s, early 50s, my age, doesn't have a family doctor, hasn't had one for years. Just got tired of looking, so whenever there's issues, they go to walk-in clinics. And it's crazy to me. I mean, we're fortunate to have a great family doctor, but it's pretty wild, and it's something a lot of people have challenges with.
Right. And that's one thing to consider is if you are going to keep your dentist in your former town or your doctor, then that's going to be one of the commutes that you're going to have to make. But I mean, also, how often are you going to be doing those trips?
Hopefully minimally.
Yeah, hopefully.
So you're pleased with your move? You're happy you did it?
I am. Yeah, we love where we are right now.
Good.
My kids have great community around them. They're into activities heavily now in the area. So it's just a really great place for us.
So I guess rewinding, as I said, I just sold a home for clients that are going to be moving a little bit out of kind of suburban area. I'm in conversations right now with people that are, evaluating moving to a suburban area. What are you finding? And I'll talk to specific conversations I've had with them, why people are doing this. Like, why is this happening?
So I think to get away from that hectic, busy lifestyle, to try and get to somewhere quieter, slower paced, smaller. And I mean, all that does is free up time for you to do more important things, like hobbies, things that you love, things that your family love. Yeah. And just for, your health, mental health, physical health, there's a lot of benefits for both.
It's crazy for me to think that, I guess it was the 80s and 90s where suburbs became a big thing. There was this radiation from, the main centers like Toronto, and then Mississauga got big being a suburb, and then it expanded out to the next stop on the highway this way is Milton, and then there's Cambridge. It's crazy to me that we're having this conversation, that people are now leaving from these suburb areas, which were supposed to create exactly what you just said, to even more rural areas. I mean, I know communities aren't rural, but it's a little bit out there, like it's definitely a change. And I think you're bang on. I think people are trying to control what they can control. They can control the life that they live, the environment that they're in. And, some of these communities provide that for them. I mean, we're still really good in Milton. I do like Milton, but it is getting busier, and it is, there are things that we're seeing happening in town that are big city stuff that at this point in my life, do I want to deal with them? We're still good for now, but who knows what the next few years will bring.
Right.
Yeah. So question for you. If you could land anywhere, okay, budget's not an issue, location's not an issue, describe your ideal spot.
Ideal spot in Ontario.
Wherever you want.
Oh, so that's a different question.
Sure.
Oh gosh. Okay. So ideal spot, I think if we're talking into the future, when my kids are older, maybe have their own families, if they stayed here in Ontario as well, then I would obviously want to be close. But we just spent a week up north on the lake near Parry Sound, which was really great.
Yeah.
A lot of fishing, which I find really boring, but my kids love it.
Yeah.
So I think just a nice, good-sized lake house with a dock and somewhere to relax and read a book and have that an even slower pace of life.
Oh, I love it.
It's great.
It's interesting because I really struggled answering that question whenever anybody would ask me that question. Like if you were to ask me that, you would have heard me go, A month ago, Erin and I, my wife, we did a trip to PEI. Okay. And I traveled a lot for my previous job. So traveling and vacationing to me isn't appealing, but we hadn't been away for 6 weeks or six years. Sorry, not 6 weeks. So it was time to do something. So we rented an RV and we drove to PEI, and every one of the sites that we stayed at was in front of water. And, after the second or third one, I remember saying to Erin, like, I could do this. Like I could really, really do this. It's amazing how, being out of the hustle and bustle of, even the suburbs now, just really changes how you feel overall. And I know I'm not saying anything that most people don't know already, but yeah, I could see myself, landing somewhere close to water as it's time to ride off into the sunset type of thing. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Cool.
Yeah.
So you're happy with your move?
We are. Yep. For sure.
Amazing. Anything else? Any questions?
No questions for you.
We're good.
I think we're good.
That was your first podcast.
It was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, it wasn't me, but yeah, I think we're good.
All right.
Thank you for watching. And remember, home isn't just a location. It's where you want to be. It's where you want to live your life. If you liked what we talked about, even if you didn't, like, subscribe, share. See you next episode.